So I want to go back to the book you read us just a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
I will label that PG, right? It's not something that would. It's kind of silly to some extent, but whatever.
Right.
The clip that I played in the trailer just a moment ago shows you at this school board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What I find, and I think this is why you got such attention on that clip when it first happened.
Yes.
These guys, you're reading a book that is in a library for kids, and the adult members of the school board are saying, please don't read that in public. And you're saying, I mean, I love the quote. You said, if you don't want to hear it, why should our kids be able to read it?
That's right.
I don't, but let's just stop for a second and go to the further extreme, because you used the word porn. If there was a Penthouse magazine in that library, do you think that school board would have objected and said that shouldn't be there?
Knowing the school board meetings
Okay.
today that I contend with and the wackos that I see, like some of the people I met last night in Murfreesboro City Schools, Sean,
Okay, but I agree. Now that I've seen the clip, maybe you're right. But would a normal school board,
normal, right?
right?
A normal.
But that's
school
what I'm
board.
getting at. Is that why is it? I don't understand. If you said to somebody, if you came home and you said to a group of your friends in the community, you're not going to believe what my kid went to the school library and checked out a pornographic magazine, they would say that is insane. How did it happen?
Yes.
But these books, until people like you stood there in public and said, I want to read you what our kids are being given.
That's right.
I don't think people fully understood that. But then they're so outraged in that clip. I can't, please don't read it. Please don't read it, to the extent that they have you arrested. but they don't want you to read it, but they don't mind the kids going to the library and checking it out.
It really makes no sense. And the book that you're talking about is entitled Push, right? By Ramona Lofton. It depicts
We're a
incest.
PG show, Pastor, so why not just
I'm not-
explain what's in the book, though?
Yeah. I won't give all the juicy details, right? But it's a book that talks about incest and how the mother and the father both had a sexual relationship with the daughter, and the father impregnates the daughter twice.
What?
Okay.
And how old could you be if you were at that school board? Excuse me, and the school where that was available. How old would you be able to be to check it out?
13.
13.
Go headlong into puberty, right? What a perfect time to give this book to a child. And so it's this kind of content that breaks the back of those who like to label me as the book banning pastor. That's what the liberal media calls me, right? And initially I didn't like that title, but over time it's grown on me. It kind of rings a little bit. No need to fear. The book banning pastor is here.
Get T-shirts, book banning pastor.
I love it. That will work. But really, I'm over the target, and they remind me every single time when they say that they are the ones who truly have an issue. Keep in mind, to your point about the Playboy magazine or the Swank magazine, these books that give Hugh Hefner a run for his money, right? Let's look at it this way. When you go into a public school, you can't just type into the search browser or the search engine your favorite porn site that you like to watch in your spare time. A kid can't do that. Why? Because they have a firewall. They have guardrails there. They've deemed it necessary that kids don't need to have access, unfettered access to the internet. Well, I'm saying, well, hey, if you feel that way about the internet, what about the library? Boom. That's the problem. We put lock and key on the internet, but we put unfettered access to filth in the library.
Why?
Solely because we need to make homosexuals feel comfortable.
You think that's it?
Surely. I mean, I think there's additional things that I can come up with, but we can start there. There are many librarians that I've encountered who have told me, frankly, that we need to make sure that all children feel welcomed. And
but then why the internet? Why do they block the internet and not the library?
It makes no sense. That's right. The mentality of a liberal. I don't know. I'm not a liberal, but it's it just really makes no sense. But It's just their agenda. So last night, one of the school board leaders, Mr. Richardson in Murfreesboro City Schools, he wore a shirt that says, "Stop the fascist, save the books." All right. And could you imagine how many people saw that shirt last night? But also, there was only one person who signed up to speak, me. I flew hundreds of miles to get there to be able to speak. But one of the school board leaders wears a shirt that says, "Stop the fascists, save the books." But he never says anything about protecting the children. And so when I got up last night to read from this book, the board chair started to gavel me down. I talked about a action item. I referenced the October spending report and how they were allocating funds towards the library and books and things of that nature. The board chair began to gavel me down to try to quiet me. Ultimately, 5 cops rushed in to try to remove me. They don't want it to be read aloud. There are people who think that our children are wards of the state. The kids belong to the government and not to their parents. Proverbs 22, verse 6 says, "Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it." We're called to train them up, not mess them up. But there is an agenda that fits neatly within the Democrat Party that seeks to defraud parents of their parental rights, make children wards of the state, and pervert them and tear down the walls of pedophilia. That's where we're headed, right? Let's sexualize the children as early as possible. Because we live in a culture today where they say God is love. That's true. But then they say love is love. That's not true. The love that a 40 or 50-year-old man might have towards an 8-year-old girl as he's attracted to her and he lusts after her, that's not a good form of love. That's wickedness.
Yes.
And so we live in a society today where it's becoming clear that policies, government systems, political parties are all in cahoots in making it less taboo and or destigmatizing pedophilia. That's where we're going.
So, as I said, you mentioned that these landmark cases that pulled the prayer out of school were 1962, 1963.
Yes.
I grew up going to school in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't remember, like, obviously, we didn't pray. We said the Pledge of Allegiance and
Mhm.
sang My Country 'Tis Thee. But we didn't have any of these books in the library. In fact, quite the opposite. As I said, I mean, you would have gotten, if you even had a hint of it, you would have gotten suspended.
Sure.
When did this start?
The book saga started more so in your late 90s, all right? And it's really taking full steam more so after Barack Obama, the man who decorated the White House in rainbow colors, and as they sought to push their agenda to change the definition of marriage and go on this whole transgender insanity kick. It's really been a steady thing of the late 90s, and then after President Obama. That's really where we've seen the uptick in this kind of content. Providing this information to children is a high form of corruption, all right? Because it seeks to exploit and corrupt the most innocent amongst us. Some people call it indoctrination. Some people call it teaching people, quote unquote, what to think. But I call this stuff mental rape. So the quest towards mental rape has been something that has been taking place probably over the past 30 years.
Is there an overarching force or funder, that is putting this, like, how does it go from libraries from one coast to another? Like, is that what is there some kind of driving force or funding mechanism behind this to get them into libraries?
Well, I think we need to target the American Library Association. That's one entity, and then you have Scholastic. You know what I mean, which is the largest publisher, I believe, in the world. It's a $1 billion organization, and all of these organizations are in the bed with the LGBTQIA plus agenda and movement. All right. And so, since they think that kids need to feel welcome at school and they have a place to belong, they're now directly joined together in this movement to make sure that these kinds of books, are on bookshelves. I have a book here entitled Flamer by Mark Curado. You already know what this book is about. I don't even have
I think
to
so.
tell you about it. And so all of these things, Sean, it's all agenda driven, you know. And but one of the things that I have done is I have cut into the agenda and I have exposed, you know, through videos and through amassing over 300 million views, and I've been able to strike down transgender policies and remove dozens of pornographic books from bookshelves all around the country and flip school boards. I've been able to put a dent into this movement. And I think that now, with having President Trump as our president, we're all looking forward towards January 20th, although, he's already pretty much the guy. That's it,
That's right.
He's moving the needle already.
So when you talked about the following, you go into a school board
Yeah.
and you expose this, because I would imagine that a lot of parents don't even know that this is available to their children. When you do this, what is the response of parents?
Parents typically reach out to me and say, you know what, Pastor John, I never knew that this was taking place.
Right.
And I'm going to fight this issue. Or it's either, hey, Pastor John, thank you for coming because we've been fighting this problem for 5 years and they won't hear us. And so God has graced me to be able to travel to now 17 states. I've been to Virginia, North Carolina, New Jersey, Nevada, Florida, Texas, Colorado, California, Idaho, Pennsylvania, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Missouri, New Mexico, Maryland, and I just went to Tennessee, and I'm headed up to New York tomorrow to speak at a school board meeting. And one of the
Does
things,
anything happen though when you do this? Right? And the parents go, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that book was available to my kids. Thanks, Pastor John, for telling me." Then what? Like when you leave, is there like an avalanche of support for your efforts to root this out? Or, I mean, because they call you the book banning pastor, do they actually get the books removed?
yes, many school districts actually remove the books.
Okay.
And part of the reason why they seek to silence me or cut my live feed from YouTube or take my microphone away is because they know that I'm effective. And if I deliver a message, it's going to go viral. And then the local media has to pick it up. And who watches the local media? Parents. And so
Yeah.
therefore the board has some explaining to do. Right. And so I'm dealing with reporters blowing up my email box right now because they're upset because I delivered this message last night and it's going viral. And so yes, parents respond, and oftentimes it's either we didn't know or Pastor John, thank you for coming because we needed your support.
I just find it funny that, like I said, we've gone from let's get the Bible and prayer out of school to we're going to indoctrinate them with this way of life. And I mean, I don't mean to sound, gosh, naive, but like, wasn't school supposed to be about reading, writing, and arithmetic? Like the idea of you go there to learn, not to indoctrinate them in anything, right? Not to pick a religion or a lifestyle. You're there to learn. And I
Correct.
don't understand why that's that objectionable. Like, why can't you just say, just focus on the course material, focus on math, focus on reading, focus on history, focus on science.
Yes, that would be nice. That would be a good thing to do. But as I mentioned earlier, there is an agenda, to sodomize the mind of our kids and to make things that are typically listed as abnormal, normal, and acceptable.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
that.
you wrote this great book called Hoodwinked, and you have 10 lies that have perpetrated the country, and you take them piece by piece. And I don't want to belabor this, but I mean, I'll just read them off. You said America is a racist nation. Being against abortion is a white evangelical worldview. Capitalism should be blamed for poverty. Christianity is the white man's religion. Debt can be canceled. Disagreement equals hate. Transgenders are under attack. If you're anti-pornography, you're a book banner. The
Yeah.
Bible isn't political. And then the last one that you rail on is the church is non-essential. Do you think in the last 12 months with the election of President Trump, any of that has changed?
I think that we are in a position now where, because of tone from the top,
Yep.
that people who sought to push these narratives, they're now going to run to their dark holes and hide. You know, I think that's where we are. I can say this in um, my few moments that I can remain on the show. I have another
Yep.
interview that I have
Yep.
to hop on, but there are people right now who are scared because President Trump is going to, number one, defund Planned Parenthood. He's going to shut down the Department of Education. He's going to close the borders. He's going to enact tariffs upon different countries, like the great governor of Canada.
The governor of Canada, I love it.
Right? You know, he's going to do things like that. And so, yes, because of tone from the top, there are people who recognize that, you know, things are getting ready to change. And
Okay.
President Trump is pro-family, and we haven't had a pro-family president in a while.
All right. The last thing I want to ask you is, where can we go see the film 22 Words? Where can we've got it in the show notes? We've got the trailers. If you want to see what we've been talking about, we showed the trailer beginning of the show. But if people want to go see it or download it, where do they go?
They can go to 22wordsfilm.com. That's 22wordsfilm.com.
Pastor John, thank you very much for joining us. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.